a certain individual was killed. And the strange part about this really is the fact after we turned the mics off and I ate my lunch, we were just sitting there chatting, hanging out. I told you that one of the topics that I wanted to bring up soon was gun violence.
Right.
Because of that church shooting in Minnesota a few weeks ago.
Yes.
Where those kids got killed. And I'm like, I am so very tired of hearing about little kids. Not even, they're not even in double digits yet, age-wise. And they're getting their life taken away from them because some lunatic's got, his Second Amendment right, but I don't even see, who are you protecting if you just run up to a church? But that's beside the point. But I had mentioned that, and I said that I was collecting like my information, so that we could have a reasonable discussion on this. And when I got home, I texted you to say, hey, made it home safe, don't worry. And you texted me to say that Charlie Kirk got shot. And I was like, oh, shit. Right. And then a couple hours later, I get an alert on my phone and suddenly I'm finding out that, yeah, he didn't make it. And I'm like, oh, mother, I'm not going to, run the list of epithets that I went through. But it's just like, what is going on? That's just nuts. I mean, I honestly, I didn't know that much about that kid. The only thing that I had ever heard about him, were like, the skeptical, atheist, rationalist guys that like to, they'll pick on a Christian with the logical fallacies and stuff. And every once in a while, he would show up, like some clip where he's at a college campus or maybe his podcast or whatever, and these guys would then take their little deck of logical fallacy cards and just start hitting them with all that stuff. And I thought some of the stuff that he said was incendiary, at least in my mind. And
at least
after it all happened, obviously, I'm trying to find out more because, I don't like to go off half-cocked as much as possible. And so, when you type in his name in Google, the first thing that comes up is conservative activist and provocateur. I'm like, okay, provocateur. Well, one thing's for certain, somebody got provoked, right? And then it was, and then what I started thinking about was a couple of weeks ago, we talked about Edward Bernays and the propaganda model. And then we also talked earlier, we started our podcast with the voice of mother culture. And the way that these stories form. And in just the flood of everybody and their brother coming out talking about this, you can see in a way all the various stories and the way they're like people are positioning themselves. Whether, this, what's the kid's name? Tyler Robinson, I guess, is the kid that's accused of pulling the trigger. There have been like a half a dozen stories about him so far.
Yeah.
And, eventually all the dust will settle and the real story will come out. But in the meantime, it's like, whoa,